See, Cathy knows that her job could potentially be on the line as well. So she don't want to destroy the growth that is already happening with the WNBA, because we've seen what happened last year when everybody went against Caitlin Clark. Look at the numbers today. They ain't what they was last year.
They truly let it to come this far, and now it's blowing up in their faces. Following months of fans demanding responsibility, Commissioner Cathy Engelbert has finally been suspended by the WNBA. And she wasn't doomed by a single poor decision or blown whistle. Years of escalating hostility, partiality, prejudice, and complete pandemonium were experienced.
A year and another case of WNBA referees dropping the ball, not making the right calls when it comes to Caitlin Clark.
This league has been operating like a reality show without a director, from the dramatic aftermath of the Fever versus Liberty showdown until Game 5 of last year's finals. And you know what? Cathy Engelbert wasn't even the primary character. The fans were the cause. We made this possible because of you. The boardrooms were not the source of a suspension. It originated from TikTok, Twitter threads, and viral video analysis that showed referees ignoring Caitlin Clark's assault-level contact as if they were auditioning for a new season of Blindsided. Given that Engelbert is no longer in the chair, we must inquire as to what actually transpired behind the scenes. Who was the shooter? Above all, is this the first step toward a complete WNBA makeover? Because everything is off once the commissioner is suspended. This is no longer just about one individual. The largest upheaval in league history may be about to begin. Hit the like button and subscribe before we go into detail about the crazy officiating, the fan uprising, and the player reactions. I assure you that this narrative is only beginning, so you won't want to miss the entire analysis. It's not your imagination. You witnessed it. You sensed it. At your screen, you screamed. The WNBA has finally taken notice of you. This was rigged. That is no longer conjecture. Millions of people are vocally expressing that on social media, during live broadcasts, and during press conferences.
It was one of the worst referee games I've seen.
The referees, for again, what, the second game in a row, I guess? Definitely for the second game of the season, the referees swallowed their freaking whistle.
Remain with me. Things worsen. This game wasn't your typical one. This matchup occurred between the New York Liberty and the Indiana Fever. A nationwide broadcast, a sold-out crowd, a matchup with playoff-level tension, and all eyes on Caitlin Clark. The calls are repulsive, but the energy is exhilarating. The Liberty made 32 trips to the line. The Fever was only 15. In a game that came right down to the last second, that is more than twice. Furthermore, the way the fouls were called mattered more than the score. For making the softest contact, the Liberty received a reward. Ticky-tack birds that are incapable of breaking a twig. The whistles remained silent while the Fever players were being pushed, checked, and hacked. They weren't following the same set of guidelines. Even their universes were different. In the interest of fairness, the WNBA referees swallowed their whistles and spat. And there was still no call after Caitlin Clark was flung to the ground.
Just kept shoving Caitlin. They're like, well, they can't keep calling. They can't just keep calling fouls. I'm like, they're literally just running around hacking her. The referees have made it like a point that this is how you beat the Fever. You hack them. You don't even, it's not being physical. You just hack them.
Let's discuss Caitlin Clark, the biggest star in the league. It seemed like someone gave players the all-clear the instant she set foot on a WNBA court. Chase after her. Take her down. Nothing will be done by the referees. They also didn't. She made contact without making any calls throughout the preseason. Same story for the first 3 games of the regular season. She would push her shoulders, yank her arms, drive hard, and endure strikes, but nothing would change. Then, in front of millions of people, it occurred once more. Fever with a chance to win, game tied, last possession. Clark receives a foul call. Never, ever twice. One play with 4 distinct fouls. Her shooting arm was struck. Her body was bumped in midair. They pulled her to the ground. The referees turned away as well. Clark was enraged. She was shouting in shock, her arms out, and you could see it in her eyes. And you know what? The referees were unable to meet her gaze. However, things worsen. Lexi Hall executed flawless defense on Sabrina Ionescu prior to Clark's last attempt. No shove, no contact, no foul. However, one was created by the referees. 2 free throws were awarded to Sabrina. You swing a game like that. That's how a result is rigged. It then burst into flames. Instead of only whining, fans organized. There were receipts all over the place. The Fever has a free throw difference of -31 after 4 games. There is no unbalance there. That is a failing of the institution. The patterns were also painfully obvious. No one was protecting Caitlin Clark. They were after her. The biggest star in the league was being sacrificed on the altar of ineptitude, or worse, partiality. At last, someone within the system had had enough. Stephanie White, the head coach of the Indiana Fever, has had enough.
Action down low. Clark has to get open. 1 second left. Clark doesn't get the shot off. Cloud.
She wasn't holding back when she spoke to the media following the Liberty game. She claimed that this was the final straw. She called it out for what it was and pointed directly at the referees. Disrespect. A gap of -31 free throws. She was direct in her statement. It is heinous. This is the turn of events that left jaws dropping. Throughout the game, the Fever weren't simply throwing threes. They were playing hard in the paint, absorbing contact, attacking the rim repeatedly, and receiving no reward. Stephanie White shouted instead of whispering. She communicated with her players, the league, and the supporters. We're not going to remain silent, because we can see and feel it. Caitlin Clark doesn't typically voice her complaints. She maintains her composure and is constantly thinking about the next play. However, she cracked the door open after that game. Had a few difficult ones. Anyhow, there were several where my arm was being grabbed. Simply keep shooting. Anything that wasn't disinterest. It was fury concealed by professionalism. Even Aaliyah Boston was unable to remain mute. She replied they would call what they wanted to call.
Take a moment to process that.
2 of the top players in the WNBA are aware of what is going on. They are also aware that nothing has been done as of yet, because now everyone on the planet is aware. Overnight, fans became investigators. They called for reference accountability. They requested banking records, identities, and even paychecks. They were serious. Find out how much was paid off by looking at the reference's bank account. Carrington ought to be expelled from the league. The Fever ought to sue the WNBA at this very moment. These remarks weren't unique. The chorus consisted of them. The issue facing the league was too significant to overlook. Additionally, since this wasn't the first time, Cathy Engelbert was directly targeted. Recall that in Game 5 of the 2024 Liberty vs. Lynx series, Liberty emerged victorious in overtime. However, the foul was the main story in the headlines. The game was turned around when Alana Smith called a foul. Cheryl Reeve, the coach, was furious. New York avoided any consequences. They were violent and aggressive, and the referees allowed it. And once more, Engelbert was the direct target of criticism from fans. They yelled, "You must step down, Cathy Engelbert." She no longer has an option. The suspension of Cathy Engelbert is more than just a disciplinary measure. This is an indication that the WNBA has finally realized how awful things have gotten. The officiating is not very good. The bias is clear. The brand is deteriorating. Caitlin Clark contributed more than just her skill to the league. She attracted attention. With millions of new fans, every play is being watched. These basketball fans are knowledgeable. When they see a foul, they recognize it. As soon as a fraud appears on their screen, they recognize it. They now realize they were correct. You were correct. This goes beyond a single poor call, Clark or Indiana. There is a movement. The movement is you. Furthermore, this is only the start. Let's be honest. Missed calls and free throw statistics were never the main focus of this entire situation. We are witnessing something far more profound. This is a wake-up call, a shift in power. The WNBA has long discussed expansion and awareness. However, what occurs if all the flaws they have been concealing are brought to light? That's precisely what just took place. Caitlin Clark brought more than just admirers. She introduced responsibility. Now people are taking notice. Frame by frame, every foul, every call made by the referee, and every dubious play are being slowed down, clipped, and examined. When millions of people are watching and commenting, you cannot get away with prejudice. At last, the league had to confront the truth. Desperation was the reason behind Cathy Engelbert's suspension, not merely damage control. This is the twist, though, that no one is discussing. In fact, this might be advantageous for the WNBA. Yes, I did hear you. Change is forced when the system is made public. The referees are no longer able to hide behind the whistle. The league will lose all they have worked so hard to build if they don't clean it up. This could be the point at which the WNBA makes the decision to begin safeguarding the game rather than reputations. There will be mayhem during the next few weeks. There may be more heads rolling, rule changes, and ref replacements. However, in the long run, this might be the pivotal moment. The point at which the WNBA began to change and cease to exist. Because this fiasco demonstrated that you are more than simply a spectator, fans. You are in the forefront. The league no longer controls the WNBA's future. We have it. That concludes one of the most bizarre turns in WNBA history. Now, though, I must hear your opinion. Was it the proper decision for the league to punish Cathy Engelbert? Or was it only a publicity gimmick to defuse the situation? Do the referees have to answer as well? Or is the true issue far more significant than we believe? And this is a significant one. Do you believe that, behind the scenes, the WNBA is shielding particular clubs or players? Oh, and if you were in charge for a day, how would you clean up the officiating mess? Leave a comment with all of your thoughts. Don't be shy. I want the unadulterated, uncut takes. And to ensure you don't miss a single update, hit the like button and subscribe buttons if you're following along with us through the craziness, collapse, or breathtaking incident from this crazy season. I promise you that the next twist might be even more bizarre, and we're just getting warmed up. Okay, I'm going out for the time being. See you all at the next.